Welcome to another episode of After the Poll, the video series where I discuss the rest of the comic books that I read for the week. Now, if you guys are interested in finding out what I thought about all the new issue 1s that came out this past week, I'm going to leave a card right up here. It's called Worthy Ones, where again, I talked about all those new issue 1s. These books that we're talking about are the rest of the comics. So before we dive into it, guys, I just got to give a quick shout out to Whatnot. Guys, there is a link in the description box below where you can actually click on it. You'll download Whatnot. It's absolutely for free, no strings attached. And when you win your first auction on Whatnot, you can get $15 off of that. So if you're looking for that comic book that you've been wanting, but you say, I don't want to spend full price on it, there you go. You got 15 bucks. If you want to buy that Lego set, buy it on Whatnot. It'll save you 15 bucks. You want some football cards? Hey, get that Dan Marino rookie from back in the day. Save yourself 15 bucks. It's Whatnot, absolutely for free. Guys, use that link in the description box below. So the first book we're talking about today is Thor. This is issue 33, guys. I am so sorry, but this book is not the same. It was originally done by Donny Cates. The artwork was done by Nick Klein, and Nick Klein is doing less and less issues. In fact, he's going to be doing the new Hulk series coming out very soon. And when I talk about the artwork change in here, yeah, this is the art, guys. This is not what you want to see in your Thor comic book. It's just not the same. The action's weird. The characters look blocky. There's some okay facial expressions in here, but I've seen so much better. And when it comes to the story is just a convoluted mess at this point. Let me tell you, if you have an introduction page of telling you all this that's been going on in the Thor story, there's a problem here. Because you're trying to catch readers up on everything that's been going on. It should not be like this, okay? It should not be like that. It should be not so confusing for readers. And for me, it's just all over the place now. It's convoluted. I don't even know what I'm reading anymore. The only thing that I got out of this is Dr. Doom is doing battle against Thor. We got Thanos looking for that Black Infinity Stone that they're still playing with in this comic book. We got some baby that was born at the end of it. For me, this is just not interesting anymore. It's lost me a couple issues already ago. So I'm going to give this book an F. That's right, guys. Just not worth it to me. And consider it dropped. It is no longer on my pull list. Sorry, Thor. 33 straight issues of reading this series, and I'm dropping it. That is sad. Action Comics issue 1054 is a pretty solid book. It has a $5 price tag. It's got 3 separate stories, so if you are a fan of anthology books, you might like this. I feel like the main story is solid. It's got great artwork. It has to do with the Superman family on here. We get to see a huge battle between Metallo and Superman as well. Again, check out the 2-page spread. That's great stuff right here. And if you're a Superman fan, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this book. I enjoyed it. The last page of the current story, we do get to see a glimpse of Cyborg Superman. So it looks like he's making his return in the comic. So I thought the artwork there was really nice. So that is cool. Now, the second story has to do with a young John Kent. And it has to do with him teaming up with this princess, which she kind of betrays him in the comic book. And they're still dealing with that, not Doomsday character, but that Doombreaker character. And then the third story has to do with Steel. So they got away from the Power Girl story. You know, for the extra $1, I don't mind dealing with one story that I dislike. 2 stories is a little bit much, but I really enjoy that first story. And the first story is like a real comic. It's has enough pages to where it is a real comic. So you can choose if you want to read those backup stories or not. For now, I'm sticking with Action Comics. I'm going to give this one a B. Plus, issue 6 is the next book we're going to be talking about. This is from Image Comics. This is a weird book, guys. I mean, the artwork is pretty interesting in this book, but it's about this dude who becomes like this furry. and murders people. But there's a reason why he murders people. It's because he's been chased after. This old guy on the chair here, he is a sheriff, and he was forcing this boy or this man to marry his daughter because he wanted to get into the family inheritance or whatnot. So he was forcing the marriage, right? And one day this guy winds up going to this party that was filled with furries, and they were like cannibalistic furries, and they wind up like killing everybody. Somehow this guy falls in love with one of the furries, and after a whole bunch of murder and everything else that happened in this book, like look at this. After all this stuff that happened in this comic book, this guy winds up getting to engage to one of the girls, and his friend winds up going with him, and they wind up living happily ever after. And that was the issue. I mean, the story's weird. For some reason, I stuck with it all the way through. It's obviously it's an okay book. It's just something different. I'm gonna give it a C. I wouldn't recommend it though to the younger audience for sure. Daredevil issue 10 is an outstanding book. There was a lot of action in this comic book. I really enjoyed it, and I think maybe why I enjoyed it more was because there was Spider-Man in it. And that was the last time in volume 1 when Daredevil took off for me, was when Spider-Man made his appearance. I think Chip Zdarsky writes a very solid Spider-Man, and here we get to see a lot of interactions between Daredevil and Spidey. So here we get to see Matt Murdock go after this book. This island has given everyone enhanced powers and stuff like that. The entire Avengers are trying to take Matt and Elektra in because they have this belief that we can take prisoners out of prison, put them on their specific island, bring them back to mental health and set them back out into the world. Obviously, the Avengers don't agree with this, so that's why they're going after our heroes. And in this entire issue, you wind up getting to see great artistic pages here by Marco Cicchetto, and just great interactions between characters, including, like I said, Spider-Man and Daredevil. So much fun, this entire book. And by the time you get to the end of this issue, you're going to be like, oh, wow, that was insane. I can't wait to see what happens in the next one. But the battle between Daredevil and Spider-Man was quite interesting and a little bit heartbreaking at the same time. Probably the best issue of Daredevil I've read in a while. So I'm going to give this book an A. This was a solid read. Definitely recommend Daredevil, as it's also getting ready to wind down soon. The next book is Clobbering Time. I say it weirder and weirder every time. Anyway, we have The Thing, who teams up with different Marvel characters. It's a Marvel team-up book, but featuring The Thing. And in this book, we have The Thing teams up with Wolverine. In the beginning, he gets to go to some kind of convention, and he makes all these speeches and stuff like that. But then you get this guy that comes from this other dimension that wants to blow up Krakoa, and we get to see Wolverine and The Thing just team up with each other. Again, this is a book where you can shut your brain off and just have a lot of fun with these team-ups. You got some insane artwork where Wolverine just gets like slashed and blown up, and he gets so messed up to the point where you literally see him to the adamantium skeleton, and he's on the stretcher, which is hilarious. There it is right there. So that is so hysterical. But they're fighting this random guy that's trying to blow up the place. It wasn't like the very best issue that I ever read, but you know what? This is a book, again, where I said you can have fun with. I'm going to give this one a B. I definitely recommend it. It's, like I said, a palate cleanser, right? Just go out there. If you read a very serious story, switch it to Clobbering Time for some action and some fun. Invincible Iron Man issue 5 is a little bit misleading because you got the gorgeous Emma Frost on the cover, and you think that these two were going to be in the comic book for the entire time or team up the entire time. That's not the case. In this comic book, we wind up seeing Emma Frost, talk with Tony Stark and give him a little bit of advice in the comic right from the start. He's trying to find out information about the character of Fei Long, who is the character that wanted to have possession of Mars. He's that pink character with white hair. Well, now he's after Tony Stark, and he wants his business. And he has taken over this business. He is in charge, CEO of Stark Unlimited, and he's trying to get all his tech. he's actually come across Howard Stark's old files that was left behind for Tony, and Tony doesn't even know that these things were left behind. And he's found out that this is the ultimate in like Stark tech or metal and whatnot. Again, he came across these movies and he got all this information from Howard Stark. And with this information, he has created the Stark Sentinels. So these Sentinels are going to be the next evolution in weaponry or whatnot. And this character by Fei Long, again, this is what he looks like, it wants Tony Stark out of the picture. But obviously he's going to torture him first and see how he's going to rule the world, take over Earth, and do all these things for the better, which he says. But Tony Stark is obviously going to try to stop him. Great action, fun series. I feel like this book has gotten better and better every time it's come out. I'm actually going to give this book a B+. Venom issue 2, done by David Michelinie, should be the main Venom book on the stands today. This book is absolutely awesome as you get to see the Lethal Protector himself, Venom, team up with Silver Sable. The artwork is great. Silver Sable looks gorgeous. Venom is super muscular and beefy the way you remembered him back in the 90s. And we get to see them team up with S.H.I.E.L.D. as they're actually trying to get this artifact back from this organization called the Vanguard. Okay, and we've gotten to see the Vanguard, who actually steals the helicarrier, and we get to see Venom and Silver Sable go after the helicarrier, infiltrate it, try to stop all the characters. And it was just a lot of fun and a lot of action. Reminded you of just a movie. You know, that's what I saw out of this. There is a character that makes his appearance here where I was blown away by that I haven't seen in quite a while, and that character was Cardiac. And his point in this book is that he's fighting the Vulture, and the Vulture is working for Doctor Doom, so you get to see Doctor Doom in this book. This book is an A for me. This has everything that I want in a comic book, brings me back to a much simpler time as well. Action, adventure, just great stuff. I mean, come on, man, look at this. Definitely a recommend. Pick this book up today. The next book we're talking about today is Local Man. This is issue 3, the book that's got 2 covers. You got a cover right here, and then when you flip it upside down, you got a cover right here. So one represents the early days, like the 90s, and then you got your normal cover, which represents today. We get introduced to this character here, who is an actual villain in the comic book. And if you read the book, we learn a little bit about her power set, and what happens to her in this book is starting to become a trend amongst the bad guys in this comic book. And we get to see Crossjack do this investigation on a former arch nemesis of his. It's actually a guy that grew up in his same town, and he's trying to figure out who murdered him. The interactions between characters are really good. I felt that this book wasn't as strong as the previous issues, as again it was so focused on the investigation that it took away a little bit of the pacing or the action in this comic. But I do love the mystery of who this character actually is, where she lets out like these evil spirits and whatnot. I don't know, really cool. And then of course at the end of the book, or at the beginning, you get to see a story here about an adventure that these characters were in back in the day, right? And then Tim Seeley does a great job in the letters page in this comic book about today's comic books and what they represent, right? And I thought that was a really great message. So I definitely suggest that you pick that up, or actually read that part of it. And I say pick up Local Man. It's a solid book. I'm going to give this week's issue a B-. Vanish issue 6. Yes, that's right. So we're talking about Vanish issue 6. Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman. Solid book. Love this story about Oliver, how he was the chosen one. He's done some crazy things when he's a little kid. It definitely has messed him up in the head. And now we're getting to see the ramifications of what happened to Oliver based off of all the stuff that he's done. He's tried doing treatment. It hasn't worked. And now his wife is basically abandoning him. And that's what you witness in this comic book. We also learn a little bit about this history of this character here. There's this axe. and we get to see that axe a little bit later on in this issue. But this is a very traumatic issue between him and his wife, and the falling out between these two. He's begging for her forgiveness, and you know, she's tried to protect him his entire life, and she's done doing it. And we just get a lot of stuff that's unpacked in front of the reader in this issue. That Ryan Stegman artwork continues to shine throughout the series, and this is just a favorite book of mine. I really like it. I love this character. I love how he's a new character, and we get to see the struggles through him. I can't wait now to see where this whole thing goes, and it looks like he's doing battle against this person right here in the next issue. So great stuff here. Not maybe my favorite issue of the series, so I'm going to give this one also a B, but I am definitely looking forward to future issues and the continuation of Vanish. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some series finales, and the first one we're talking about is Mary Jane and Black Cat, issue 5. This is the end of this volume. Jed MacKay does say that he's going to make another volume of Mary Jane and Black Cat. So does that mean that Mary Jane is going to die? I don't know. We'll see. But this book is great. The artwork is so phenomenal here. I love looking at all the characters' facial expressions, the action, the battle scenes. Like, look at this page here between Black Cat and Mary Jane. They have possession of the Soul Sword. They definitely portray Belasco in here to try to get the upper hand and to get back to the Earth realm. Right? Look at this 2-page spread. Again, all the character interactions were phenomenal here, and I love the friendship between Mary Jane and Black Cat, something that you would not expect these two to have, being that they're totally, you know, were involved with Peter Parker. So yes, a great issue. I loved it. I'm going to give this one an A. The next series finale is, we're talking about Hulk issue 14, another title that was left by Donny Cates, and Ryan Ottley had to, you know, pick up the pieces, not only do the art duties, which is absolutely phenomenal. Let me tell you, he knows how to draw great Hulk characters, and he had to do the writing duties on here. So I feel like he did the best that he could, and I felt like that it wasn't a bad comic book. I thought it was quite interesting, dealing with the psyche of Bruce Banner, dealing with another persona by the name of Titan. And we find out that the Titan persona was absolutely embedded into his persona, and it slowly grew based off of the anger issues and things like that, you know, Banner was dealing with. We see Doctor Strange trying to save the day. We see Monolith in this comic book also trying to save her people. Again, artistically, it looks great, vibrant colors, great action in the comic. And of course, at the end of the day, we wind up seeing Hulk bust out of the mental state of himself, and he takes out Titan on his own. Looks really good. It was a lot of action, and then all of a sudden it just kind of like abruptly ended, and that was it. So I don't know. It was okay. It was fine for what it was. Again, I think Ryan Ottley had a lot on his plate here, and I would be so curious what Donny Cates had in store for this comic for the long run if he did not leave it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this book a C+. Strange Academy Finals, issue 6. The final issue, the end of Scotty Young's and Humberto Ramos' story here. Hopefully it comes back. At the end, it says the end for now. So maybe we'll get these kids to come back, but there's definitely sacrifice, there's emotion, there's mystery, everything that you wanted in this comic book. And it's not just in this issue, it's been in this entire series. It's delivered. And the way it ended, you're just like, oh man, what a tough ending. But at the same time, it was a satisfying ending, right? So in this issue, you wind up getting to see Emily Bright fight the Strange Academy, basically all on her own. And she is becoming basically the next Dormammu in the entire series. Humberto Ramos' artwork shines so much in this comic book. Bright, vibrant colors, but you can feel the evilness in Emily's heart as she's trying to take on all these different, you know, Academy characters. But she has her points of view, but no one agrees with her points of view. She's just corrupted, right? But then we get to see a great sacrifice by Doyle in the issue, as well as she's absorbing that black magic. Does Doyle live or does Doyle die? I'm going to leave that up to you to read. But this was an absolutely phenomenal issue, as again, you do witness death in this comic book. So this book is an A+, an absolutely outstanding read. If you've never read Strange Academy Finals, they make it in trade paperback form. Go out there and read this. One of the best books that Marvel has put on the shelves today. Great ending. So the books that I did not read yet was Doom Patrol issue 2 of 6. I'm on like page 3 of that. Doctor Strange issue 2. And I still have to read Avengers Beyond issue 2. So those are the last 3 books I have to read. Hopefully they turn out pretty good. Guys, leave me in the comments below what you thought of this week's comic books. And of course, if you love my content, I'm going to leave you more content right here to click on. And of course, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but more importantly, always read those comics. Guys, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. I'll see you real soon.